your breath actually feeds and nourishes the DNA at the core of each of those 50 trillion cells. Our highest form of mastery is to awaken our powers of self-regulation. The breath actually regulates the expression of the DNA in the cells. And it does so. It can upregulate or it can downregulate. It can go either way. I believe that we so long for a connection that we have lost a long time ago. We can't even put words to it, but we feel it. We sense it's there. And we're seeking that connection through any way that we can get it. And we think the only answer is a machine, is a device, is technology, not knowing that we are the technology. So, anything else anyone would like to say? We have some more opportunities to talk about this. So what we arrived at just before, a long time ago before our lunch break, was that we self-regulate. It's not just regulating, it's self-regulating consciously, at will, on demand, when we choose. Through things like thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, breath, focus. This is how we self-regulate our biology. And interestingly, that is the core of our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions. So we have relegated these techniques into what we call spirituality, and religion was later wrapped around them. And people that learned how to do this were shunned in other societies, and especially if you're a woman, and especially if you're a woman about the 1600s, and you have the ability to self-regulate your biology and communicate with subtle forces, helping gardens grow, or understanding weather patterns, or when it's going to rain, or where the water is in the ground. Women, well, you know the history. We don't have to go into that. It was feared. So what I'd like to do now is actually begin. How many had alcohol? Anybody have beer, wine? I'm going to know in just a minute because I'm going to watch your eyes. You know, we'll do a little closed eye work, and when I invite you to open your eyes, if you don't, I'll know. Our highest form of mastery is to awaken our powers of self-regulation. And I think you're beginning to see why the most radical act that you could ever embrace is a way of thinking that empowers you in direct opposition of what you're being asked and taught and led to believe in our society today. Can you all see that? We could do a whole program on that. So, discovery number nine. So you know what that comes from. Which, was that the White Album? White Album, Beatles, okay. Trivia. All right, discovery number 9. I want to talk to you about breath. You know, breath is a primary language. It's the first language that you learn when you come into this world. I want to just even talk about what it means to use your breath. Have you ever considered what masterful use of breath when you speak a word to another person? Have you ever really thought about what happens? Like, I'm speaking a word to you right now. Here's what we do. And this will be the entrance into our breath. Here's what we do. You and I, when we want to speak, we consciously breathe the breath of life from the world around us. And in the most intimate act that you could imagine, we invite the air from outside of our bodies deep into our physical being. Very intimate act. We draw that air in and we allow it to accumulate in the lower lungs, and then with our diaphragm, we begin to flutter the diaphragm in just the right way to push the air back in the opposite direction that it just came from and allow that air to pass over two muscles that we call the vocal cords, while at the same time we flutter those muscles in just the right way to create the acoustic patterns, the vibratory patterns from that air passing over, and expel that back into the world to fall on the eardrums of another living being in a meaningful way that we understand. You ever thought about that? And we do it all the time. That's how good you are. That's how good you are. You're fluttering the diaphragm at the same time you're fluttering your vocal cords. Well, when we begin the power of the breath, what we're actually doing is that breath is a language, and it's speaking to us in a number of different ways. Some you may be aware of, some you may not be aware of. So first, I would just like to share with you, this is some new research, absolutely beautiful, beautiful research. Breath is a nutrient. It's a nutrient for the code of life. Your breath actually feeds and nourishes the DNA at the core of each of those 50 trillion cells in your body. Now, when we breathe, we're going to do this a couple of times, and I want you to see, I know you know this, it's good to see it, to reinforce it. When you inhale, in the inhale, now watch the diaphragm on the inhale, as the diaphragm drops and the belly comes out. I'm going to invite you to do this. When we do our breathing, not forcefully, gently, to push your tummy out just a little bit. It's a yogic breath. Some of you are very familiar with this. Push the tummy out so that the diaphragm can drop, just like you're seeing right here. When you push your tummy out, you can see that the diaphragm drops, and it allows you to take a deep, full breath. And let me show you what that breath is doing to the code of life in the cells of your body. So first of all, this is a little inset. I wanted you to see this. When you take that breath into your lungs, what's happening is, this is an inset. This is the tissue moving through the lungs, and these are blood cells that are flowing in that tissue. And notice how the blood cells, when they come in, they're purple because they are oxygen deprived. Those little white nodules that you see, this is oxygen passing across the membrane of the tissue so that they are oxygenating the blood. And look how it turns red as it now goes out into the cells. So those are enriched cells, enriched blood cells, and they're going to feed something. And I know they can bring nutrients, I know you know that, but you may not know what happens next. The breath actually regulates the expression of the DNA in the cells. And it does so. It can upregulate or it can downregulate. It can go either way. But the way this happens, and these are actual photographs I want you to see. And can you all, I want to see what you're seeing. I want to see if you're seeing, you all can see on the monitors up here, right? Guy, thank you for putting these beautiful monitors up here. Those are very cool. You guys using them back here? So those are working. Okay, you can see that from here. Does my laser? Oh, it works. Okay, from back here. It just doesn't work up front. All right. So what you're seeing, this is the DNA in the nucleus of a cell. You tell me, what do you notice about the DNA? What is a very obvious characteristic you're seeing right here? Pardon me? It's dyed purple so that we can see it. If you'll notice, the DNA is clumped together. Can you see that? It's not evenly distributed, it's clumped. What that means is that DNA is contracted, it's constricted, and it cannot express fully because it's wrapped up tight, like a little knot. So it can't express. That on the left is an oxygen-deprived cell. When you breathe shallowly and you don't breathe properly, or if you're in a bad environment, this is what happens to that DNA. If it can't fully express, you're not getting the benefit of that code. Does that make sense? You good with that? Okay, look at this. Same cell, oxygenated. Look at what happens to the DNA. That is really healthy DNA. Can you see how it's more evenly distributed? It's not clumped together. It's able to express fully. And this is what the power of breath can do, just as a nutrient. Just as a nutrient. But it goes further. It goes even further. But I'm going to ask you, would you rather use the chemicals to do that to your body, or use your breath to do it to your body? Because literally, we're wired to self-regulate this nourishing code simply by a conscious breathing of a deeper breath, pushing the tummy out, bring that breath down. And as you release, we're going to do this here in just a few moments, but we're going to do something else, because your breath also regulates your nervous system. And I think you may know that. So what we're going to do, we're working our way sequentially through the steps that will come together as one composite technique. We're going to go through these steps today. We'll probably get into the actual technique tomorrow. But each of these are techniques unto themselves. So the breath regulates our nervous system. This is a traditional view of the nervous system. Now, I know there are new theories of the nervous system. I didn't want to get bogged down. And there's something called the polyvagal theory. Has a lot of credibility, but it diverts us from what I wanted to do here. So I'm acknowledging that other theories exist, and I'm focusing on the traditional view of the nervous system with the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Now, I think you all know that the sympathetic is what is activated when we are in what's called fight or flight, or when we are in fear, increased heart rate, the bronchial tubes dilate, the eyes, pupils dilate, all these kinds of things. Bladder becomes very active. You all know about that. Parasympathetic is when we are able to stimulate this part of the nervous system, and the heart rate slows down. If you're having anxiety, the heart rate will slow down. Blood vessels constrict. The bladder is relaxed. All of these things are happening here. So the thing is, we use these simultaneously, because every time we take a breath, we are using both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So what I want you to see here is that the primary driver for the parasympathetic, so this is the relaxation response, is the vagus cranial nerve. How many are familiar with the vagus nerve? Most people? Yes, no? Vagus nerve. This is a fascinating nerve. It's called the vagus cranial nerve. It is the largest cranial nerve in the body. It begins at the base of the skull. Look at this. It goes all the way down into the reproductive organs. One nerve. And it branches into the heart, into the lung, into the eyes, into the mouth. All of this is a single nerve, and it responds very quickly to breath. So it goes from the brain, the face, the heart, the lungs, the gut, bladder, sex organs. When you have an orgasm, it's this nerve that is allowing that to happen. And when there are problems with sexual function, often it is a problem with the nerves. A lot of people don't think about that. So they're looking for supplements to do other things when it can actually be in the nerves. We are wired to regulate this, and you've been doing this since you had your first breath into the body, because when you inhale, this is so interesting. It's like the gas and the brakes at the same time. When you inhale, on the inhale, you stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. When you exhale, you're stimulating the parasympathetic. But the key is the ratio of the inhale to the exhale. You can upregulate or downregulate your response based upon the way that you are breathing. This is the core of a lot of the yogic techniques, a lot of the martial arts techniques. We can talk more about those later. A lot of the spiritual techniques that people use, and the meditative techniques. So what I'm going to invite you to do, and we'll go through this together because we're going to use the breathing as the first step in a series tomorrow morning. So we're going to take this one step at a time. We can either regulate the breath as one step in another process, or you can forget about that process, and these are techniques unto themselves. If you're feeling anxiety, and who isn't feeling anxiety in the world of COVID? Have any of you felt anxiety? I'm just going to ask. I'm assuming you have. Have you felt anxiety? Where's the anxiety come from? Where do you think the anxiety comes from? Fear, perceptions. We're being fed information that leads us to fear our world and given no way to remedy that fear. That leads to the stress. That leads to an incapacitation of the immune response right there. So this is a very, very simple way, and we'll do this together. I'm going to invite you, let's go through a breath process. The key is to exhale for longer than you are inhaling. And everyone, we're at altitude. Some of you are from lower elevation, so you might be breathing a little bit differently. Typically, if you, and I'll lead you through this, if we inhale for a breath count of 5 to 6, and we release for maybe 8 to 9, or whatever's comfortable for you. The key is you want more on the release. You want a longer release time than you want on the inhale. Does that make sense? You okay if we do this after lunch? After pizza and pasta and beer and wine and whatever else everyone had? So my streaming audience, I'm going to invite you to do this with us. Please only do this, streamers, if you're in a place that's safe. If you're listening while you're driving, please do not do this exercise, or operating heavy machinery. Please don't do this. We are all in a safe place here, so it's going to be very, very safe. So I'm going to lead you through a process. We'll have a little sound in the background to help us. And then I'm going to I'll offer you a couple of variations on this, because where the vagus nerve is directed, every one of those points is an access point to the vagus nerve. So it's not only breath, it's optics, it's vocal. And I'd like for you to experience all of those, and then we're going to bring these together tomorrow. So any questions about what I've just said on the vagus nerve? We've been sitting for a while talking. Let's do something. So I'll need a little audio support we're going to need on this. So this literally is a reset to the vagus nerve. If you have had a shock, or if you're feeling anxiety, or if you're feeling, I'm just going to ask, does anybody experience anxiety on a regular level, a regular basis in here? I'll be very honest with you, and just because it's with me, it's present with me, and this is an intimate group. I lost my mom recently to COVID, and I wasn't expecting it. And my man brain logically made sense of everything. But there was a part of me that's not linked to that man brain, that's not logical. And for the first time in my life, I experienced a lot of anxiety around her path. And unfortunately, I know this is a story way too often is being shared. I was not allowed to be with my mom since February of last year. She passed over the holidays. I wasn't allowed to be with her before. I wasn't allowed to be with her during. And after she passed, they still, because of COVID, the regulations would not allow the family to be with the loved one that now has passed. Personally, I think it's sad. I think it's wrong. And it's a story that's playing out all over the world. All over the world. And it leads to anxiety because there's something so, you all know this, there's something so final about the passing of a loved one, and to not be able to resolve that the way that our society typically does can lead to anxiety and more. Look at where, and I love this illustration, this vagus nerve, it begins, so it begins at the base of the brain, but look at how the nerve's in the yellow. Can you see where it moves in the head? It moves into the eyes, it moves into the mouth. It branches out to the mouth And you can actually reset the vagus nerve through a smile. When you add a smile to the breath, it will enhance that effect, because you are literally triggering it. Now, the science shows the smile does a lot of other things. Endorphins are triggered. Positive brain chemistry, serotonin levels are impacted. Oxytocin levels are impacted just from a smile. And this is the reason, because that smile is using the muscles to activate that nerve to send signals into the brain where that chemistry is being created. You know, if you were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you probably wouldn't be smiling unless you got in the way. You probably wouldn't be, so your body would be secreting different kinds of chemistry. So vagus nerve branches to the eyes. It's called the oculocardiac reflex, or OCR, which interestingly in the world of high tech also means optical character recognition. So if you tell someone you're doing an OCR technique, they're going to say, oh, optical character recognition. You must write software. That's what this is. Very simple. What we're going to do, and eyes open for this one, and you'll want, typically people are lying down when we do this, and that was one of the reasons I thought I might take it out, but it works sitting up as well. Your eyes open with your nose pointed directly in front of you. What we'll do for 30 seconds, and I'll time it on the timer. 30 seconds, here, I'll show you. I put a special slide. This is an awesome slide. You ready for it? I hope you appreciate this because of all the work I put into making this slide. This is a very cool slide. Watch what happens. Just tell me you like it, whether you do or not. This is exactly what we're going to do. What we're going to do for 30 seconds, face forward, and your eyes will shift first to the left. It's arbitrary, but for consistency, I'm just going to say that you could do it to the right, but let's do it to the left, and just hold, while your face is here, hold your gaze 30 seconds, and then come back, and then 30 seconds on the other side. And this is a reset for the vagus nerve.